Hi, quick walk around video for a Ford Escort van 55, which refers to the payload, and it's the very last model year for the Escort van, so this is a 52. I'm quite confident saying you're not going to find a newer one. Now the van itself is totally usable as is, and considering the reputation of corrosion the Escort van has, this one is very sensibly priced for a good van that you can use as is and then improve if you wish. And the reason I'm happy to sell this one on, it's coming as a part exchange, and I know the owner and I know that he's been using it, and it is actually very clean in all the right places, i.e. it hasn't been welded and doesn't need welding. And Escort van owners know that that's usually the death of these vans, because they tend to corrode in the back of the cars, especially around the leaf springs. Now I'll just go back to the obvious bit there. It's had a new wing fitted because it had a dent in the old one. No big accident damage, just a simple vent from hitting a fence. So it's got a new wing, it's all in primer, and it needs to be painted white with the rest of the van. The MOT is through to June, the end of June 2020, and I've got a little list of stuff that was done on this van, and this is why I think it's going to represent good value for someone. It's had an oil and filter change as recently as January 2020, and people always ask. It had the cam belt and an oil filter and an oil done in June 2017 when it had 136,000 miles on. It's had new discs and pads fitted at a similar time. Had a further oil change at 100 and looks like, I can't quite read that, would that be 141? And then it's basically had an oil filter done as well, with an oil change in summer last year, and I think I mentioned it was done again in January 2020, and literally just fitted is a new starter motor that was fitted within the last week. So the van has had more spent on it than it's actually up for sale for, and despite the fact that it does have a few, I mean, if I get in close around this arch, very common with these, you see it's a little bit raggedy around there, but nothing terrible. You step back a few feet and it looks much better. I'm going to go around the bottom there, pretty solid. Obviously the new wing, so I'll be a bit upset if that started corroding. Bonnet in good shape, good front bumper, and yeah, good front wing. Getting close down there on the front wing, you've got a little bit of discoloration and a little bit on this wheel arch. It looks like it's been tidied up at some stage. It's got a set of Ford alloys on it. I think they're from an ST or an SI or something. The other side is missing its centre caps, which I'm sure eBay could help you with. But the car does have these alloys that come with it, and there is a locking wheel nut inside. Let's open up. And let's have a look in the back. Spare wheel. Rubber matting, not a bad little load area there, and that's all quite decent and empty. There's there. Yeah, a bit of some chips on the rear doors, and it looks, by that reflective tape on there, I'm assuming that's where it had one of those padlocks, and I'm assuming that's hiding where the bolts go. It's very clean under the engine. What I'll do, again, they can be a bit manky under there, so while I've got you, I'm going to show you the engine bay. One-handed operation, and those old 1.8 diesels, they are frugal and they go on, and if you have a little look in there, you'll see that it's actually super solid for out there. Not an oily engine, starts on the button, and if you're really seeing things, and you see that shiny bit down there, that's the new starter motor. So she's all nice and clean under the bonnet, no issues with bulkheads and suspension tops, that's all in very good order, very good panel through the front. And if I jump back inside, now that's a different colour, so I think while you're painting the wing, it might be a good idea to put a bit of paint on there. So into the car, which is welcome on a cold day. We've got a crack through the windscreen, which is pretty epic, but the good news is sort of somewhere between 85 and 105 is how much you pay for a new windscreen on one of these cars, so you need to budget for that. There's a big hole here where there's usually a radio, so it's no radio cassette, and it's got an electric fan here as well, which is operated from that button. They're quite handy. The seats are really nice. Now obviously this looks like it's come out of a, probably a gear model or something, very plush. Steering wheel, good nick. Often they are terrible on these because of the material. And if you get here early, you'll be able to have quarter of a tank of fuel. And they don't like using very much fuel. And the reason people buy these Escort vans is that they're very old school in that they're a mechanical fuel pump. There's no ECU, there isn't programmable injectors, there's not all of the sort of modern diesel issues that you do get with newer vans, and these things are always reliable and they go on, and they're very cheap to run. So this is an inexpensive Escort van that happens to be in good order. I think I mentioned a new starter motor a few times. You can see how the price of that has affected me. And then absolutely on the button, and there she goes. So I've got no doubt at all that you could come collect this van. We've got a railway station across the road, and I reckon you could pretty much drive this old girl anywhere. She's been well maintained, and despite the fact that she's got a wing that's a wrong colour, and there's a crack in the windscreen, and you need to find a radio, there's a few quid to spend on it, but as I say, that's what's keeping it at this price point. So good reliable van, not rotten, not rusty. Having had a quick look at the MOT history, it doesn't seem to have ever failed on corrosion underneath, which they are notorious for. So, and it is clean, very clean underneath actually. It looks like it's always been kept clean, probably pressure washed off or something. So yeah, there we are. There's an Escort van walk around video. Please get in touch and I'll be delighted to reserve her for you with a deposit, and then you can pick her up and drive her away. Thanks folks.